As usual, Srinivasacharya visited all the holy places. He went to Kashi and he met Prakashananda Saraswati, who's a close associate of Lord Chaitanya. All those wonderful places wherever Lord Chaitanya had visited and whoever devotees have associated with Lord Chaitanya, he met each and every one of them because he was trying to feel, this particular devotee has met Lord Chaitanya, he has spent time, he would have got some treasure, let me hear. He was so eager to meet all the devotees and walked and from all the way from Jagannath Puri he went to Vrindavan, meeting hundreds of Vaishnavas on the way. See, from the life of all these Vaishnava Acharyas, the only wealth is Krishna and Krishna consciousness. The rest is not so important like this. But in Kali Yuga, we have valued so many other things. And Krishna consciousness has taken a secondary stage, importance. But in their life, Krishna consciousness is primary and everything else is secondary. And they went all the way. When he reached Vrindavan, it took quite some time to reach Vrindavan. And he was received by Jiva Goswami because they all know this great, wonderful, brilliant boy is going to come. A Tejasvi boy who is going to spread Krishna consciousness in the future. Because Mahaprabhu has already instructed them and they're all waiting. But unfortunately, by the time he reached Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami also left their body. They left this planet. He was cursing himself. Why is this happening to me again and again and again? But Jiva Goswami consoled him and told him to take initiation from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. The sixth, one among the 6 Goswamis, Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Sri Rupa Sanatana, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Dasa, Sri Jiva and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Jiva Goswami, they were little young. All the other 4 Goswamis were very elderly. So they all left their bodies. Only Jiva and Gopal Bhatta Goswami are remaining. And Jiva Goswami has taken a vow that he will not give initiation to anybody. He will give only Siksha. Jiva Goswami is like Siksha Guru to all. But Diksha he won't give. So Jiva Goswami advised Srinivasacharya to take Diksha from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So this young boy, by the time he must be 16, 17-year-old boy, he went to Vrindavan and took Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Diksha from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And amazingly, by Krishna's mercy, he got 2 wonderful friends of the same age. One is Narottam Das Thakur and another is Shyamanand Pandit. These 3 friends, they were the reason for spreading Krishna consciousness. And so wonderful Vaishnavas they were. Always discussing about Krishna and cleaning Vrindavan, going to different Nikunjas and Vanas and cleaning and associating with sadhus, learning all the literatures, whatever Goswamis have written and practicing. And they were doing it, and these boys were glowing, effulgent by effulgence and radiance and brilliance. And whole Vrindavan started liking these 3 boys. All the Vrajavasis started liking these 3 boys. And Jiva Goswami was loving them so much, such an obedient, disciplined Vaishnavas. In Bhakti, this discipline is also very important. Practicing, chanting 16 rounds every day without fail. Regularly reading Krishna conscious scriptures. Being very humble and polite in conversation, not arguing, fighting, debating with devotees. Very humble, very polite. Rendering devotional seva very respectfully. These disciplines are ornaments of a Vaishnava. And the Goswamis were like this, so sincerely practicing. And these three boys, Srinivas, they very beautifully they accepted this process. And Jiva Goswami became very happy. Then after a few years, there was a message from Jannava Mata, Nityananda Prabhu's wife. Now it is time for preaching. She has written a message to Jiva Goswami. Please send those three boys to Navadvip. I have plans to start preaching in Bengal, Odisha, all Gauda Desha, the present Oriya, Bihar and Bengal. It's all East Bengal, West Bengal, even Bangladesh. These were all the part of old Gauda Desha. So Jannava Mata decided and she made some plan that this is how preaching should be started. So these three boys were given a job of making copies of all the Vaishnava literatures. As I said, for months and months together, they made multiple copies of all the Goswami literature. And how to make copies? Literally sit down and write in palm leaves. You see how valuable is our Krishna conscious books. These are not normal books. Initially, in those days, they literally write on the palm leaves and copy. Now, many times we have plenty of books, we don't value them, it lies all over the place, and sometimes we don't read. These books are very important. Even during Prabhupada's time, Prabhupada did not have money to print easily. One devotee, he used the money which was given by government to cure his chronic disease. A devotee had a chronic disease and government allotted some money for his treatment. Without anybody's knowledge, he came and gave that money to Srila Prabhupada to print books. And second time also he did that. Then some devotees told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, this money which he is giving is actually meant for his treatment. It was some kind of a stipend given by the government. Prabhupada was moved. He had tears in his eyes. Then he told that devotee not to spend money on anything else apart from treatment. So Prabhupada, when the book was published, Prabhupada took that book and put it on his head, and with tears he said, this is the blood money of a devotee. So these books are very, very valuable. So the three friends, they literally wrote down all the books. That was the time when really book distribution started. So they loaded these books in so many trunks, and the trunks were nicely sealed and wrapped and with all the silk cloths, and they regularly used to do arati and worship for the books, and it was loaded in carts. And Jiva Goswami arranged armed soldiers to protect these books. They were so valuable, as though they were transferring treasure from one country to another country. There were hundreds of soldiers, armed soldiers, and the carts were going. So that has to pass through a kingdom called Vishnupur. And the ruler there is called Raja Birhambir. So these bullock carts have to pass through his country. And this king is a very strange personality. The king regularly conducts Bhagavatam discussion in his palace. He's very good to sadhus and saints. Hospitable king, he receives them, serves them nicely. He does everything nicely. But in the night, his sponsored dacoits will go around the kingdom and steal people and bring him money. Because his kingdom doesn't have money to run. So what he does, he has his own thieves and robbers. So they go around the kingdom in the night, and whoever passes, travelers moving from one country to another, travelers and wedding parties, and these dacoits will steal and bring the money and give it to the king. But to the world, he shows himself as a very nice, a very strange person he is. And many of us in Kali Yuga are like that. We also have multiple faces. We are very humble, polite, sweet, nice in a Vaishnava assembly, but in the dark we are completely different. So Bir Hambir and his dacoits, located that such a group of people, monks are going, and they have armed soldiers, and they have cart full of loads, trunks full of gold and jewelry and treasure. This is a very big treasure which we are going to hunt today. If it is nothing, then why should they carry so many armed soldiers? So this is a very special. So they informed the king, and the king also became so happy. And in the night, when the whole entourage took rest in a dormitory, these dacoits went and stole the whole lot of books, trunks, and took it to palace. Morning, when Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shyamanand Pandit, when they woke up, they realized their valuables were looted. They were broken. What answer we will give to Janam Mata? She is waiting for those books. And these books has to be taken to Gaudadesha, and with these books only we can preach the message of Krishna consciousness. And we have promised Jiva Goswami that we are responsible, will do this properly. Now we are lost, we are doomed, we are middle of nowhere. They felt very bad. So Srinivasacharya said, I will take the responsibility. Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamanand, you both go ahead and convey this message to Janam Mata. I will somehow locate the books. I will come back only with the books and nothing else. He made a vow. And the other two friends went ahead. Srinivasacharya stayed in that kingdom. And some nice, good-hearted Brahmanas gave shelter to Srinivasacharya, and Srinivasacharya stayed in his place. So wonderful in those people, devotees were. Their houses were open for all Vaishnavas, sadhus. Any house, but nowadays it is not like that. People are scared. In those days, houses were open. Any traveling sadhu can enter any house and have a meal and rest and continue his journey. And householders used to feel so, grateful and honored when a sadhu visits. Because the sadhu is a traveling pilgrimage, because he carries Krishna in his heart and purifies every place which he travels upon. So a nice, wonderful Brahmana gave him shelter, and Srinivasacharya stayed there. And the Brahmana said, why don't you attend the king's darbar? King is holding Bhagavata discussions, and this is very nice, discussions are going on. Why don't you also join? And Srinivasacharya said, okay, I will join. Then Srinivasacharya went to the palace of Raja Bir Hambir, the same king who stole all the manuscripts and everything. And Srinivasacharya went, and everyone noticed this young boy. Brilliant, glowing he was. They could feel the radiance. And they all noticed this boy. And a regular reciter was reciting Bhagavatam and giving an explanation. Then this boy was unimpressed. He was sitting there like a stone, unimpressed. He was not at all impressed. And the king is noticing this boy is not, responding. Then the session got over. And Srinivasacharya was unimpressed, and the session continued the next day. Srinivasacharya attended the next day also, because the speaker was giving dry, speculative explanation, his own fantastic explanation, speculated, his own created explanation. Then in between, Srinivasacharya got up and asked, oh great Pandit, from where are you quoting all these things? Which scripture says so? Where is the evidence? You don't speak anything about bhakti. Then the speaker simply ignored. But twice or thrice when Srinivasacharya spoke, then the speaker got little irritated and said, if you know better, why don't you speak? And Srinivasacharya started giving explanation as though river is gushing out of a dam. So beautiful, so exponential, so attractive, and it was satisfying to the soul. Amazing explanations. And king was very impressed. And the king started favoring him, patronizing Srinivasacharya. Then he said, please do come tomorrow also. And the king gave nice place to rest and this and that. And he was hankering to listen from Srinivasacharya. Then after the discussions over, Srinivasacharya said, I have to continue my journey. And the king begged, why don't you stay in my place? You're such a pure person, please stay. Then Srinivasacharya said, no, I have got a mission. We lost our books, our treasure, and I'm in search of it. Can you help me? The moment Birhambir heard this, tears were coming down his cheeks and he was crying and rolling on the ground and said, please forgive me, I stole the books. Please, please. And he took Srinivasacharya and handed over all the books. And Srinivasacharya was so happy, jumping, jubilant. He was so happy. He got to retrieve those books. And he accepted the offer of Raja Birhambir and stayed there.